Thank you guys for listening to the Sales for the Nigerian Wedding Industry podcast. And sorry about how abruptly the last episode ended. It was supposed to continue, and that's what we're doing right now. But unfortunately, a call came through on my phone, and that kind of threw everything out of whack. Unfortunately, I haven't fooled around with this app enough to find out how to splice episodes together. So what I did was I went ahead and published the last episode as the intro, and now this is going to be the concluding episode on implication and need payoff questions. So if you are listening to the podcast for the first time, skip back one episode and get the intro so that we can save some time and I don't have to go over with setting the context about what we're talking about. So I believe I was at the point where we're talking about how we can attach, if there's any way that those of us in the wedding and the event space can attach specific Naira values to what it is that we do, or if there's any other way that we can use implication questions to show that the service that we offer is more valuable than what the clients think it is. And yes, so that's what we're going to be looking at in this episode. Now, I was introducing you guys to the work of Victor Antonio, who is a sales trainer, an American sales trainer. And a lot of the work that he does is more in the commercial space. But I like the dude because a lot of the ideas that he explores apply to different industries. And so for those of us in the wedding and the event space, it would serve us well to listen to Victor Antonio. I think he's a cool dude, correct guy, and we can learn some stuff. Now, Victor Antonio has this idea about value. The value that most of us bring in our businesses can be described threefold. We're either bringing financial value, we're bringing physical value, or we're bringing psychological value. Already, I'm sure you wedding industry professionals can see how this applies. There are wedding planners who their shtick is they're selling savings. If you go with me, I'll be able to get you DJ Gabby for 700k instead of 1.5. So that's their shtick. Financial. And there's some other people who are selling physical. That's what they're selling. That, hey, Madam Bride, you should go with me because if you don't, you're going to have a lot of hassle on that day and you're going to break down immediately after the wedding with malaria and you're not going to enjoy your honeymoon. Physical. Now, psychological. There are some wedding planners out there who sell the sizzle, they sell the pizzazz and all of that. And the same thing with some wedding photographers. What they're selling is a much more sophisticated and idealized version of the day. And so that's obviously psychological. Now, if you think of it in those terms, that the value that we provide is either financial, physical, or psychological, you can see that you can build your implication questions or your need payoff questions around that. So, for wedding planners, for instance, if the chief value that you provide is financial, then of course need implication questions are where you're going to have to hit. So you look at the list of vendors, and just like I said, I gave an example. You say, oh, okay, you're looking at DJ Gabby, and you're looking at this photographer, you're looking at this hall, and this and this and this. If you were to do this all by yourself, it would cost you 30 million naira to do this. Now, fortunately for me, I am a wedding planner that is well connected. I've been in this business for the last 30 years, and because of my connects, I'll be able to get every single thing you want here for 20 million naira instead of 30. Okay, I can't remember what figure I said at first, so let's just pretend that I said 30 the first time around. So if you go through me, because I'm cool with DJ Gabby, we'll be able to take 500k off his fee, we'll be able to take 250 off here, 150 off here, 2.5 off here, and at the end of the day, all you will pay is 20 million naira. And in exchange for this, what you're going to do is you're going to pay me my own professional fee of 5 million. Now, in that case, I'm sure the clients can do the math and see that, okay, if we go with her, since she's a wedding planner of strong repute, we are saving at least 5 million from the get. And since we have her with her experience behind us, we're not going to worry about ancillary expenses creeping up and scope creep and stuff like that. And so at the end of that meeting, the implication questions that you'll be asking will be, built around that, showing them how much savings you would be able to give them, which is basically that if they don't do this with you, they're going to spend upwards of 30 million. But if they do this with you, they're going to save 5 mil off the budget. And of course, I'm sure the parents might not mind that, because let's say the father is an Omo boy and he likes his drinks. 5 million, I'm sure, would go a long way towards upping the alcohol budget, for instance. Or, if the groom and the bride want to do an after party, then that's extra budget and things of that nature. So that's an example of how you can attach a naira value with need payoff questions if the value that you provide is financial. The same goes for physical, and I've seen lots of wedding planners in Abuja use that. They point out that, well, yes, you say you have 5 sisters and the sisters are going to be able to plan it and Momsy's sisters can do it and everything, but it actually is much more time consuming than and a lot more effort intensive. For instance, you're going to have to be up from 6 o'clock in the morning, calling different vendors, arranging this. You'll be walking from here to there, carrying this, carrying that. And it's going to be a lot of a hassle. And this is where you can also go into case studies, examples of weddings that, people who didn't go with you and how they broke down after the wedding because, people came down with malaria or stress-related fatigue or whatever, because the whole brunt of planning the whole wedding just turned out to be too much for them. So your implication questions, would be built around that. Oh, are you guys going for honeymoon after this? Are you sure you're going to be able to have a fun honeymoon, even though executing this wedding, even though it's a one-day affair, is actually going to take up 36 straight hours before you travel? Are you sure you guys are up for that? I'm not a wedding planner, so I'm not sure what kind of implication questions you would ask in this regard, but I'm sure you guys can think of something to show the amount of physical stress that would be involved. And then the same also goes for implication questions. When implication questions, if the chief value that you provide is psychological. Questions around what their ideal day is and stuff like that, and how important the wedding day is, and how they would feel if they're not able to achieve what it is that they set out. So let's say you have this bride who is really dead set on having the socialite wedding and things like that. Maybe she's a social climber in Abuja or Lagos or something. So questions that just key into the fact that, look, if you have this wedding, but we don't get it to pop off, it's not trending on Instagram, we don't get it on Bella Naija and everything and stuff like that, questions that show that this could basically harm or ruin her cred, amongst her peers and the group that she would like to climb into. So, I'm not a professional wedding planner, so I'm sure that you guys will be able to come up with much, much, much better examples of questions that you could ask. And that's one of the reasons why in the trainings that we do with intending wedding planners, I always make sure that the head wedding planner is there, and then we actually walk through specific examples, much more appropriate and realistic examples of the kinds of questions that you could ask. But basically, I'm sure that I've said enough, or rather I hope I've said enough to get you to realize the gist, that the whole point of implication and need payoff questions is you want to show that there actually is a big problem here. I'm not just directing traffic, and I'm not just clicking the shutter. And apart from that, with the service that I provide, there's a specific naira value that we can attach to this. So this is how much I'm saving you, or this is how much I'm making for you. That's for people who are listening to this podcast who are not involved in the wedding space. Sometimes that actually is your shtick, that you pay for my service and I render the service and actually help you make more money. So that's the basic idea behind implication and need payoff questions. The example that we used today was how much does it cost you to service your generator, and the goal is to show how having an inverter or solar would be much more cheaper, or would save you money in buying a generator or maintenance. And the philosophy is the same when it applies to wedding planning. the wedding and the event space. So even though I use wedding planning examples, think about it. Try and use some creativity. Photographers, makeup artists, I'm sure you guys can come up with something. So that's it for today. I think I have 3 more specific questions that we can run through in future episodes on implications and need payoff and see how it applies to those of us in the wedding and the event space. So thank you very much, guys, for listening to the Sales for the Nigerian Wedding Industry podcast. I'm your host, Abuja-based event and wedding photographer, Tavishima Ayede. I'll catch you guys on the next episode, and I'll do my best to make sure that we dish solid value to you guys so that we can all improve our hustles in 2021 and increase the value of our businesses. And I promise to sit down at a future date, look at this app properly, and find out a way to splice together recordings so that next time a phone call interrupts the recording, I can just splice together the 2 episodes instead of having to record a part 1 and a part 2. So thank you guys for hanging out with me. I'll catch you on the next episode.